everybody, and welcome to Women's Financial Empowerment Group. I'm your host, Ruth Agbeloso. I am so happy that you've come back to my channel. If this is your first time visiting, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. And please leave a comment. I love comments. And if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. Go ahead and like, share, comment, all that good stuff. Today we have some special guests. We are talking about basically being free of debt freedom. It's something that's so important. A lot of you may be still working towards that end, and let me just tell you, it's wonderful when you get to the other side. And I have a special couple that will be on, and they're going to share their journey with us. So I am just so excited to have them on. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them on. We're going to have on Scott and Lydia Sargents. Welcome, Scott and Lydia.
Hi.
It is so good to have you on Women's Financial Empowerment Group. So yeah, we're gonna get right into it, but I just wanted to give you an official welcome. Everybody doing well over there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Good, awesome. So we are talking about debt freedom, and so I have some questions that our viewers, they're going to want to know, how did you achieve this, especially during this COVID-19 crisis and everything like that. A lot of people have been hit really hard financially, and maybe they've started to work on this journey and kind of like given up because of this situation. So I feel like your story is very inspiring. So here we go. So please, introduce yourself and just tell us what you do. Maybe we'll start with Scott first.
Yep. Scott, I'm a mechanical engineer for Cummins. Do validation on power cylinder components, which probably doesn't mean a lot to most people, but bearings, crankshafts, vibration dampers, those are the types of parts that I work on. Basically design tests to make them break, and once they break, figure out why they broke and fix it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's a lot of complicated stuff that I don't know anything about, but it sounds very important. All right, and Lydia?
I am a stay-at-home mom, and I have 3 wonderful, challenging, awesome kids. And I've got a almost 5-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and a 9-month-old.
Wow, you've got your hands full.
They keep me busy, yeah.
Yes, that is a full-time job and a half. Well, I am so glad that you took out time to get on today. This is just wonderful to have you. Okay, so first question that I have for you is, what was life like before you decided to embark on, getting out of debt?
I think we were pretty aimless. I think we kind of thought we were disciplined enough or smart enough to play around with debt and not fall into any traps with it. And we were wrong. We actually did the Dave Ramsey financial peace class very early in our marriage. And we were like, oh yeah, this is really cool. I think we'll follow it. And we did for a little bit, but then, like I said, we decided that we were smarter than that or more disciplined than other people, and kind of fell into the trap of using credit cards, accumulating debt, and realized how hard it was to get out of that situation once you get yourself into it.
Yeah, and I really wanted to do things like buy furniture for our place, and I wanted to I wanted to be, we got another car. We didn't ever finance any cars, but I mean, I wanted to have a vehicle so that, we wouldn't just have one vehicle to use. So we bought another used car. And then we went on vacations. We went on a lot of vacations early on in marriage. So we traveled a lot, and that is kind of, I think was the biggest expense that we kept on being like, oh, we'll pay it off next month. We'll pay off the credit card next month. Or we'll just, get this credit card for the rewards, like the point system. we'll get like flyer miles, or we'll get, you know, like $100 back for using this card a lot. And then, you know, that's the quick way that it kind of snowballs in the opposite direction.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, because I'm sure a lot of people get sucked into that as well. So whose idea was it to start the plan?
Kind of both.
Yeah, I think we kind of came
time?
to the conclusion together that what we're doing is not working. We're not getting ourselves out of debt or getting into a better state financially with what we're doing. So we need to change something. So we actually did the Financial Peace University class a second time.
Okay.
So
we were dropouts the first time.
No, we weren't dropouts.
I mean, not dropouts. We should have scored an F in that class, I feel like.
Or how about you hit a pause? You pause.
Yeah. Like a several year, I don't know how many years pause.
So, I mean, that was really part of why we did it, was we felt like we needed to kick ourselves in the pants and get around other people who were of the same mindset of like, we need to actually make a change. We need to get moving in the right direction here.
I think having kids too was like very motivating, because we were like, what kind of legacy are we leaving behind for them if we're going to like have these kids and they're going to grow up and their parents are always going to be in debt, and we're always going to be scratching and scraping to get by, and we're always going to have to put things off because we have to pay so much in interest and debt payments every month. So we were kind of like, we wanted something better for the kids too.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that you have met along this journey to become debt-free?
So I know, well, I'll just go ahead because I can think of it. So when we did the Dave Ramsey class both times, we both identified as like, he's the nerd and then I'm the free spirit. And I really struggled throughout our debt payoff journey with saying no to things, saying no to people, saying no to events, saying no to eating out a lot, saying no to, you know, fancy vacations or whatever. And I feel like even just the idea of like, we would have to not get to do some of the same things that other people were doing just for a brief period of time was really challenging for me, because I kept thinking, oh, well, you know, this feels like it's going to be forever. And so it just, I mean, debt does trap you. And that's why I think for me, it's like, I really craved that freedom, but it felt like it was so far away. And so keeping like a long-term perspective was really hard for me personally. What about you?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I kind of did to shoot myself in the foot was being an engineer. I had my fancy spreadsheets for our budget, and I did not want to let go of those, even though they weren't helpful to Lydia. Like, we're on the same team, but I would not let go of my fancy way of looking at the budget and doing all my calculations. And she was like, I don't understand this. This is not helping me. Mm-hmm. So we had to just go with a much more simple version of the budget. And that worked much better.
Oh, and some of the challenges that we thought of that were specific challenges were that we had several health emergencies kind of happen all in the same year. And so we kind of bet on being healthier. And so we had a higher deductible health insurance plan, but we ended up like basically having to pay a huge chunk of money. And we ended up going into further debt from medical bills. So like, we can definitely empathize with people who go into debt through no fault of their own because they just were hit with something that they didn't expect at all. And with health insurance being so expensive nowadays, or if you pick the alternative kind of betting on that you'll be healthy, you know, you can lose either way. And that's a really scary thing to go from, feeling very stable and secure to like, it just takes three things happening to you or one thing happening to you to set you really far back. And so, yeah, that was kind of big for us one year. We had just a lot of stuff happen. So.
Wow. So how long did it take, for this second time when you embarked on this? How long did it take for you to actually experience that freedom?
When did we finish?
It was last May, I believe.
So it's only been a year since we got that second kick in the pants to kind of get back on track. One thing that helped with that though is we did sell our house. So that was a big part of how we were able to pay off debt. We kind of determined that we decided that we wanted to sell our house regardless of the debt, but we knew that once we did sell it, we could pay off a lot of debt. And we've kind of been waiting on buying a house again until we were out of debt and had built up some emergency fund to make sure that we don't get back into debt because of another health emergency.
Okay, awesome.
And it was a really big lifestyle shift for us because our house was a lot bigger than this house that we're currently renting in, and it was a huge time commitment to get our house ready to sell. So it was definitely a huge stretch for us. It was probably one of the most stressful times in our marriage, was just getting the house ready to sell and doing all the projects ourselves. So it was not easy by any stretch to get to that point, but it felt like a huge payoff once we did it, because it was something we worked on together, we accomplished it, and then to have that huge boost towards debt freedom was just like very it honestly like remotivated me, because I was feeling like we're never going to get through this mountain. We had a tiny shovel and a huge mountain, and the selling the house was like a huge boost. So
wow, oh my gosh. So I mean, I can't even wrap my mind around a year. Like, okay, so do you feel comfortable telling us approximately how much debt we're talking about if you got rid of it in a year? I mean, that just sounds huge.
Your student loans, first of all. When we got married, he had student loans. So they were about 20? It's hard because they accrued interest over the years to be more than they were.
They do that, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, it was huge amount of interest, but it was, I mean, I want to say it was like, was it 20,000 or 14? Did it get to be about 20 by the time we were done?
I can't remember, to be honest.
Can't remember the exact numbers, but I think altogether, do we have around 40,000? Was it that high? We had quite a bit of credit card debt because it had, I think, like I want to say it was like, was it 20% interest rate or something ridiculous? It was very high. Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, like, it really only took a few years for it to like snowball badly. And so what we thought would be like, oh, we'll just pay it off every month. It was like, it just started to roll, and yeah, that was a lot. But I think altogether it might have been around 40. We'd have to look at the exact numbers, but
yeah, I think that's about right, because we ended up coming out that far ahead on our house. We made a lot from the house accruing value over time, and also we I think we did a really good job of fixing it up to make it sell for more than we bought it for. So
we did have, I think, 10 or 15,000, I think, in medical bills, because we had, like I said, I think 3 or 4 different incidents. So the house selling did not cover everything. The only thing we had left was we just paid off our, like a week ago, we paid off our last credit card bill, which was, I think, like almost $5,000. And then we had the rest of the medical bills, which we paid off over longer span of time. It was, each one was about like $3,000 or $4,000 depending on which one it was. So it was a lot of like little bills, I guess we call that little, but smaller bills, and it added up to the big thing. And then the biggest one was one credit card, and then a bunch of student loans. So we had like 3 that we paid off with those. It was 3, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, guys. I mean, the fact that I know that homes can be an emotional attachment too. So I can imagine how hard it must have been to give up that home, and, like you said, get into a smaller place, but it definitely paid off, and that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so let me see, what was the next question? What are some things that you'll be able to do now that you're debt free? Because you've been debt free now for a week or 2 weeks?
About a week. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing is just accelerating towards savings to get that emergency fund saved up. And then we are looking at buying another house soon, so saving for that down payment. It's awesome to see, like, I think Dave Ramsey calls it giving yourself a raise. where all that money that was going towards debt is now going towards that savings. So it's just so much faster. So it's really cool to see that snowball effect happen.
Yeah, it's almost like you're paying yourself now. Before you were paying other people, and now you're paying yourself. So that's
you get so used to, like, when you're in debt for a long time. I mean, it's been our whole marriage, so 8 years. When you've been in debt so long, you kind of, it's like that unwelcome person that just like is sitting in your house next to you for so long that you kind of get used to their presence a little bit. And for me, I'm still kind of a little dazed about it. Like, it doesn't seem real that all of the money we get to keep. Like, it's not going towards anything else other than our bills, our utilities and stuff like that, and our rent. And so it's just kind of like a weird feeling to like not have to think, oh, this thing, we won't be able to get this thing because we owe several $100s in interest this month. So I just like that we can be more generous now than we were before, because we were really getting nervous about like how many things we'd have to tighten up with, like trying to be aggressive with paying the debt off. And now that we don't have to worry about that, it's like nice to think that we can be more spontaneous with giving, because that's something we both really enjoy doing, is just giving to people randomly that we meet or who have a need that comes up. So it feels really good to be able to like give back and not have to have it all just basically thrown away.
Yeah. I think that's what freedom is all about. And, like you alluded to before, debt is really, it's like you have chains on you. So it's really great that now you're able to experience that freedom to use your money the way you want to use it, whether you want to save it, you want to give some away. It's really up to you, with no one calling you, telling you, hey, you didn't pay for how many months. So that's so awesome. So I know that, some people get out of debt and they do really well, and then they get back into debt. So what sort of steps are you guys going to take to avoid getting back into debt?
Yeah. So I mentioned my complicated spreadsheets that I used to have. My brother-in-law, or Lydia's brother-in-law rather, is a programmer. He makes apps. He used to make apps for a living. So we actually asked him to make us a budgeting app that was super simple and very visual. And it is literally an envelope system in digital form. You click and drag money from one envelope to another. And that has been super helpful for us, because whenever we buy something, you have to take money out of the envelope and you actually feel it. And you're like, I am spending this money. It's not just like swiping a card. And if we have to rearrange, you just click and drag money from one envelope to another. So we're going to keep using that, because I think that's been our most useful tool to stay on track. Rather than Lydia having to sort through all of my my calculations.
It feels safer to me than carrying around a bunch of paper envelopes full of lots of like large dollar amounts, because I'm so afraid I lose stuff all the time, and so I'm so afraid of like losing a big chunk of money. So, and then when we go separately to two different stores and we have like, it gets difficult to try to like do cash back and forth. So we just ended up doing that. But I mean, I'm sure cash envelopes work for a lot of people, and that's kind of what's recommended, because you can actually like feel the cash leaving your hand to go towards the purchase, and it feels a little bit more personal than just swiping a plastic card. So another thing we're going to try to do to stay out of debt is just continue to work on building our emergency fund and putting money towards that, so that we do get another medical emergency, we won't be back in the hole again. We'll be able to, we'll have met our deductible with savings, and then that will go straight towards that event, so that we won't be.
Well, and not just the medical either. Our eventual plan is to get to 3 months and then 6 months of full expenses. So that way, if I did, God forbid, have any job layoff or anything like that, that we'd be okay. We've never had that before, and we've never had that happen before, thank goodness, but we do want to be prepared for that situation too, so that we again don't have to put ourselves back in debt to get out of that situation. So.
Yeah, and just saving for stuff like like another car to replace when our used cars finally give out, because they're kind of our Dave cars. They're surviving on exhaust and a prayer, I think. So like they're almost, I think, close to 200,000 miles, I think.
Yeah,
but I think they'll make it. We just have to but we're preparing for the inevitability of when they finally give out, and we'll need to get another used car. So.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So, what advice could you give to my viewers who are looking to become debt-free? Any words of wisdom that you'd like to share would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah. First thing I'd say is don't think you're smarter or more disciplined than everybody else. I think that was the mistake that we made. We saw some credit cards that had cool travel rewards, and we're like, I know we shouldn't do this, but we really want these travel rewards, and we'll pay it off. We know we will, and we didn't. So just don't get sucked in by the rewards or the free hat or whatever you get with your credit card. It's not worth it. Those systems are set up so that the credit card company wins every time. So just stay away from it.
Yeah, and I would just say, try to be, if you're already in debt, try to be as aggressive as possible with paying it off, because the sooner you do that, the sooner you'll be able to achieve all the things that you kind of dream about. And the longer you take, the longer it delays getting to those bigger goals, because you just are, you're facing this mountain that it's a hole that keeps refilling with more interest. So it's working against you to continue having debt. And it seems like sometimes your dreams and goals can be so far away, because you really, really want that new car, or you really, really want that nice house with all the nice furniture and everything. But those things will come in time. You just have to be patient. And I'm talking to myself, is like, you have to be patient, and you have to work hard for those things, but it will happen, and you'll get there even faster if you're debt free, and if you're working towards having those things in place to be prepared for what might happen in your life, that is unexpected. So if you have a brand new car and you end up in the hospital, your car's not going to come and help you out. So you have to really put those things in the right order and really prioritize the things that are most important to have that life that you dream about.
I love that. I just wanted to repeat the two things that really stood out to me that you said: prioritizing and living the life that you dreamed about. Because I feel like when you're in debt, that is like the major thing. Like, you have to prioritize, right? And you also realize that you're not living your best life. You're not living the life that you really want to live, because you have all that debt. So, thanks for sharing that. One final question, one more thing. So I'm just thinking about, I think being in debt is different when you're single and when you're married. So, is there any other thing you want to share, like as far as working with a partner or a spouse in getting out of debt? Any advice there with working with a partner?
I'd probably say give grace. I think I was very stubborn at the beginning of our marriage of how things should be done. And it wasn't because I was doing everything right. It was because I had a way that I wanted to do things. And there were things that I wanted to spend money on that Lydia did not, that she didn't think were all that important and probably weren't. And there were things that she wanted to spend money on that I didn't think were important. And so just really giving each other grace and working together to set your priorities. And not being stuck in the ways that you had when you were single.
Yeah, and I think just also like one of Dave Ramsey's methods to kind of helping you if you're trying to give each other like a little bit of like wiggle room in the budget is like to actually budget in for things that are fun. Budget in for $100 for fun money if you have that in the budget to spend, or even just like maybe like $20 or something, just to kind of break up the monotony of like, it's really tough work and you can't just go and never like have any kind of break in there. So you can kind of like weave in some fun, or even just like finding things that you can do together that are cheap or free. I mean, there's so many websites you can find like cheap and free dates or family activities or go to the park, or like we've done so many activities just like walking around our neighborhood, walking down to go fishing at the pond, or biking together. And sometimes there's a little bit of like a upfront cost of like we bought a bike trailer and we bought a tandem bike, and those kind of things that brought us a lot of joy. But it's paid itself off, so to speak, because we've used it so much, and it's something that we enjoy doing as a family. We're just going to the state parks or things like that. So
yeah. And when you do budget those fun things in, you don't have to feel guilty when you go to spend that money, because you're like, it's already in the budget. Like I have this money planned for, so I don't have to feel guilty when I go buy a donut or when I go through a restaurant, because we planned for it. So.
Right.
Yeah, that speaking of donuts, I just have to add, so we have consistently struggled with food in our budget. That is the number one thing that we end up like overspending in all of our categories is food. So we just decided we just need to have like that be our biggest category, and just like acknowledge that that's going to be it, and that we just acknowledge our own lack of like self-discipline in that area. And I've tried to be better with like grocery shopping and things like that. But we just were like, we keep kidding ourselves that this is going to shrink and shrink. And so we kind of found our sweet spot of how much to put in that budget. And then we didn't struggle as much with going over, because we just took from other areas that we felt like were not as, usually we didn't end up dipping into those as much. So, I mean, you just kind of have to be realistic with yourself. Like, am I really going to never again do this thing? Or am I just going to have to like cut in a different area to be able to do this thing that I really enjoy doing? So
that makes sense. That makes sense. That's awesome.
And I think that's another area that you need to give yourself grace in, is learning where you will spend more than you thought or less than you thought, especially if you are used to being single and you're now married or now with someone. Your spending will change. So you have to give yourself some grace to learn where those areas will be and adjust accordingly.
Right. That makes total sense. Thank you so much, guys. This was awesome. Thank you for being
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I'm sure this is going to help someone, multiple people. Thank you so much. And we appreciate you. Hopefully we can have you back on and share more testimonies of other things that's going on financially. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ruth.
Thank you for hosting us.
You're welcome. Anytime. It was so nice to have Scott and Lydia on. They're awesome. And you're awesome too. You're watching this. Please go ahead, subscribe, like this video, share it with your friends. And just know that if you are in debt and you're working to become debt-free, just know that it's possible. Everyone's story is different, and there are different methods to get to that point. But just don't give up. Keep working hard at it, and you will achieve it. And just know that I'm here to support you. There's so many people to support you. Just reach out. My information is in the description if you want to reach out to me for help. And just keep on watching my videos, and I hope that something I post will be able to help you along your journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you come back again and again. Take care now.